Hello, and this is Delia again, and I am reading The Vampire Diaries, The Awakening. We are on Chapter 8, Part 3. Chapter 8, Part 3. Wait, stop here, said Bonnie. I thought I saw something. Matt's battered Ford slowed, edging toward the side of the road, where brambles and bushes grew thickly. Something white glimmered there, coming toward them. "Oh, my God," said Meredith. "It's Vicky Bennett." The girl stumbled into the path of the headlights and stood there wavering as Matt hit the brakes. Her light brown hair was tangled and in disarray, and her eyes stared glassily out of a face that was smudged and grimy with dirt. She was wearing only a thin white slip. "Get her in the car," said Matt. Meredith was already opening the car door, and she jumped out and ran up to the dazed girl. "Vicky, are you all right? What happened to you?" Vicky moaned, still looking straight ahead. Then she suddenly seemed to see Meredith, and she clutched at her, digging her nails into Meredith's arms. "Get out of here," she said, her eyes filled with desperate intensity, her voice strange and thick, as if she had something in her mouth. "All of you, get out of here. It's coming." "What's coming?" "Vicky, where is Elena?" "Get out now." Meredith looked down the road, then led the shaking girl back to the car. "We'll take you," she said, "but you have to tell us what's happened." "Bonnie, give me your wrap. She's freezing." "She's been hurt," said Matt grimly, "and she's in shock or something. The question is, where are the others?" "Vicky, was Elena with you?" Vicky sobbed, putting her hands over her face as Meredith settled Bonnie's iridescent pink wrap around her shoulders. "No, Dick," she said instinctively. It seemed to hurt her to speak. "We were in the church. It was horrible. It came like mist all around, dark mist, and eyes. I saw its eyes in the dark there, burning. They burnt me." "She's delirious," said Bonnie, "or hysterical, or whatever you call it." Matt spoke slowly and clearly. "Vicky, please just tell us one thing. Where is Elena? What happened to her?" "I don't know." Vicky lifted a tear-stained face to the sky. "Dick and I, we were all alone. We were, and then suddenly it was all around us. I couldn't run. Elena said the tomb had opened. Maybe that was where it came from. It was horrible. They were in the cemetery, in the ruined church," Meredith interpreted, "and Elena was with them. And look at this." In the overhead light, they could see all the deep, fresh scratches running down Vicky's neck to the lace of her slip. "They look like animal marks," said Bonnie, "like the marks of a cat's claws, maybe." "No cat got that old man under the bridge," said Matt. His face was pale and muscles stood out in his jaw. Meredith followed his gaze down the road and then shook her head. "Matt, we have to take her back first. We have to," she said. "Listen to me. I'm as worried about Elena as you are, but Vicky needs a doctor and we need to call the police. We don't have any choice. We have to go back." Matt stared down the road for another long moment, and then he let out his breath in a hiss, slamming the door shut. He put the car into gear and turned it around, each motion violent, all the way back to town. Vicky moaned about the eyes. Elena felt Stefan's lips meet hers, and it was as simple as that, all questions answered, all fears put to rest, all doubts removed. What she felt was not merely passion, but a bruising tenderness and a love so strong it made her shake inside. It would have been frightening in its intensity, except that while she was with him, she could not be afraid of anything. She had come home. This was where she belonged, and she had found it at last with Stefan. She was home. He pulled back slightly, and she could feel that he was trembling. "Oh, Elena," he whispered against her lips. "We can't." "We already have," she whispered, and drew him back down again. It was almost as if she could hear his thoughts, could feel his feelings. Pleasure and desire raced between them, connecting them, drawing them closer, and Elena sensed, too, a wellspring of deeper emotions within him. He wanted to hold her forever, to protect her from all harm. He wanted to defend her from any evil that threatened her. He wanted to join his life with hers. She felt the tender pressure of his lips on hers, and she could hardly bear the sweetness of it. Yes, she thought. Sensation rippled through her like waves on a still, clear pond. She was drowning in it. Both the joy she sensed in Stephen and the delicious answering surge in herself. Stephen's love bathed her, shone through her, enlightening every dark place in her soul like the sun. She trembled with pleasure, with love, and with longing. He drew back slowly, as if he could not bear to part from her, and they looked into each other's eyes with wondering joy. They did not speak. There was no need for words. He stroked her hair with a touch so light that she could scarcely feel it, as if he was afraid she might break in his hand. She knew then that it had not been hatred that had made him avoid her for so long. No, it had not been hatred at all. Elena had no idea how much later it was that they quietly went down the stairs of the boarding house. At any other time she would have been thrilled to get into Stephen's sleek black car, but tonight she scarcely noticed it. He held her hand as they drove through the deserted streets. The first thing Elena saw as they approached her house was the lights. "It's the police," she said, finding her voice with some difficulty. It was odd to think about being silent so long. "And that's Robert's car in the driveway, and there's Matt," she said. She looked at Stephen, and the peace that had filled her suddenly seemed fragile. "I wonder what happened. You don't suppose Tyler already told them?" "Even Tyler wouldn't be that stupid," said Stephen. He pulled up behind one of the police cars, and reluctantly Elena unclasped her hand from his. She wished with all her heart that she and Stephen could just be alone together, and that they would never need to face the world. But there was no help for it. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next part.